What is the best British comedy?
I quite like Nighty Night.
It's a good shout.
I really like.
So what is Nighty Night?
So Nighty Night.
Some people
So for those who don't know, Julia Davis, she's the wife of Julian Barrett, who is half of the Mighty Boosh. You'll recognise her from loads of things. She's in Gavin and Stacey.
Which character does she play?
The kind of married couple who are just awful, and Dawn and Pete. Yeah, she's Dawn.
Okay.
So anyway, she's got quite a strong Bristol accent. So Nighty Night is basically the story of her. It's her comedy. She's the lead, and it's a very dark comedy about how her husband is diagnosed with cancer, and basically, long story short, he starts to get better, but she quite likes the attention of him being ill, so she's telling everyone that he's dying and he's getting worse and worse.
Sounds like Breaking Bad.
Well, yeah, but then all the while, kind of, a new neighbour's moved in who is confined to a wheelchair because she's got ME, and she quite fancies her husband, so she...
This is basically all the
to get close.
For great British comedy.
It is it is so dark and so bleak, but she is just so ridiculous. And it's got Ruth Jones in it, who is Nessa from Gavin and Stacey.
Loads of Angus Deaton.
Angus Deaton.
Mark Gatiss.
I always forget yes, Mark Gatiss, very good. And I always forget the name of the woman who's from The Thick of It, who is Claire someone or something. She's she's Kath, and it's just like, hiya, Kath. Yeah, no, it's just very, very funny. It's a very funny show, and it's very dark. But quite bleak.
Yeah, I second your opinion on that. I think it's brilliant.
I think
how many series are there now?
It used to be on British Netflix, and it's no longer there. So I was going to say to any international listeners, try to get on UK Netflix, but it's no longer there.
You should be able to find some highlights on like YouTube and stuff. It is really worth it. I think it's very funny. Or buy it because it's cheap.
Or buy it.
What was your shout, Creeper?
So my shout is Rebecca Front.
That's a name.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I don't remember that.
I haven't seen that one.
She's hilarious.
Yeah.
She is actually. So my pick would be, this is actually one of my favourite TV programmes of all time. I kind of watch it all the time if I'm stuck for something to watch, is The League of Gentlemen.
I've never seen it.
Very funny.
It's hilarious.
Tom never saw The League of Gentlemen as well.
You've only recently watched it.
I only watched it very recently, about 6 months ago. Yeah.
So Tom went and watched it recently as well. So The League of Gentlemen is based on the stage show and the radio show from a Perrier-winning comedy troupe. But unlike kind of the other comedy troupes Britain is famous for, like the Pythons or like Comedy Strip.
Yeah.
Comic Strip?
Comic strip.
Yeah.
They don't have a kind of... Or like Footlights, don't have a kind of university background from Cambridge, Oxford. They are Mark Gatiss, Rhys Shearsmith, Steve Pemberton, and the writer only Jeremy Dyson, who doesn't appear and act in the show.
Yeah.
Except for once.
Yeah, in cameo roles, but he never acts because he's just a writer. And it's kind of, they create this kind of weird fictional northern town called Royston Vasey, which is the real name of the comedian Roy Chubby Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
And they create all this, like this very... Each season has a kind of through line to it, but it's told through kind of standalone sketches. But they create like this own weird, unique, again, kind of dark British world.
Yeah.
Set amidst like these moors. And it's hilarious and dark, and they were massively influenced by loads of British horror movies.
Right.
So it's kind of like well up my street.
I remember sort of seeing, when it first came out, like seeing bits of it and thinking, that doesn't look much like a comedy at all.
No,
it's
quite dark in places, right?
It's dark throughout. Like it's all dark. There are characters that are hopeful, but even they are
Doesn't
tinged with
go well
darkness.
Yeah.
And there's loads of stuff about incest, and
cannibalism, and
inbreeding, cannibalism, all those sort of things. But it's incredibly cinematic as well.
Yeah.
And it kind of like the Christmas episode is, I think, one of the finest kind of one-off episodes of anything. And it takes the form of a portmanteau horror movie. So you get 3 short stories linked by a framing narrative.
Yeah.
And it's about people coming to the town's vicar on Christmas Eve and telling her stories that are kind of little tiny horror movies.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I watch it every year at Christmas, and it's so good. And all those guys have gone off and done things individually. Mark Gatiss is like, he kind of owns the BBC now creatively. He's the showrunner on Sherlock, if you didn't know, and obviously he works on Doctor Who. And
he'd appeared in Game of Thrones as well this season, right? He was the Ironbreaker Bravos guy.
and Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith continue to work together on stuff like Psychoville and Inside Number 9, which are very similar tone. But I think League of Gentlemen stands
Steve Pemberton, the guy that's in
Benidorm as well.
Benidorm, yeah.
That's right up your street, isn't it? You're going to say Benidorm next, aren't you?
Benidorm is one of those programmes that, I don't know, it just seems to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Are they still making new shows?
I have no idea.
Because it all looks the same.
Hit. Yeah, it's weird that he did that. But sorry, I really waffled on about this. But it's just, I think it's really exceptional, and I think it will stand the test of time. And it's also super smart because the first 2 series they created this bunch of characters that accidentally had catchphrases like "Are you local?"
Yeah.
And the moment they sensed that they were becoming catchphrases, in the sense that Little Brinton generated endless amounts of catchphrases, and then there were dolls. The third season. End of the second season, they killed off some of those main characters. And the third season concentrates on a new format and new characters because they didn't want to like settle into that groove.
Yeah.
So, the third season was so smart.
Yeah, like, super divisive. Like people at the time, it was critically not well received. But ever since, people have gone back and gone, "This is brilliant."
It was an attempt to move away, right?
The third season, every episode ends, like all 3 episodes stand alone.
Right.
All 6 episodes stand alone.
Yeah.
But the end of each episode tells you more about a shared story.
Right.
So you kind of piece it together week by week.
Yeah.
And it also has Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen in it.
Which is a mark of quality of any
It's a
show.
plus in my book.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you like?
Well, see, so there's one thing that I should love, but I never really got into it, and that was Spaced.
Oh, I've never watched
So,
Spaced.
Everybody was saying, "Oh, you'll love it. You love Star Wars. You'll love it." But I kind of came to it late,
I don't
and it
think
never really.
Space is laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, I never really
Really?
clicked with it.
I love
don't
Space.
think
I don't like Transformers. So.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get your T-shirt.
Got there
out.
first.
Yeah.
But I think Fawlty Towers.
I like Fawlty
is
Towers.
Yeah.
Magnificent.
40 towels.
Exactly.
Flowery
Even things
twats.
But that is so
the quintessential
perfect.
British comedy.
And it
It's
didn't
genuinely
outstay its
perfect,
welcome,
I
did it?
think.
But also, like,
imagine that writing that with your wife as well.
Who you then divorce?
I don't think you could get away with some of the stuff that's in it now, though.
No.
Like,
Very xenophobic towards the
when he
Spanish.
does- well, yeah, exactly.
And the
then
Germans,
just the way that he
like-
does his walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goose step.
Yeah.
I think you could get away with that.
Do you think?
I don't.
Of course you
I
can.
don't think the BBC would take a chance like that in a million years.
Stuff in League of Gentlemen, for instance.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that stuff wouldn't be greenlit now.
I think.
Yeah, well, that used to be the mainstay of BBC Three, right? But BBC Three's now been relegated online, so they might take bigger.
What's the mainstay of BBC Three?
Like BBC Three was meant to be, slightly edgier comedy was its whole brief. Like it was meant to be the place for new original comedy that was perhaps slightly edgier, that might offend the audiences of BBC One and Two.
Yeah, I never put much truck behind that.
No,
because
no,
The thing
but-
that was shown on opening night of BBC Three was Little Britain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And for instance, like, yeah,
And Gavin and Stacey made its debut there. I mean, I know other comedy. I suppose Green Wing I quite like. You don't like Green Wing, I seem to remember.
I don't even know what it is.
Green Wing
I
is
don't
the
like Green Wing.
maybe it's you. So
Yeah.
Green Wing is kind of a hospital drama that it's kind of a comedy drama with Tamsin Greig, Stephen Mangan, who's quite famous, most famous probably for being Adrian Mole.
Right.
And yeah, it's just really well edited. It's created by Victoria Pyle, who's the person behind Smack the Pony. Very, very funny. And then the other thing I like is The Smoking Room, which is quite niche,
Yeah.
which is an old
Oh, I
BBC
remember
one.
seeing that.
So that's Robert Webb without David Mitchell, which is
Right.
I mean, Peep Show obviously would
That was
make the list.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's got quite a few big names of British comedy that you might just kind of know from around. And it's just very funny. It just takes place entirely in this smoking room of an office, and they're all just dossing all day, just going there to smoke. And there's quite a few good, funny characters and stories. So yeah, no, I think they're also good. And they're Smoking Room certainly is lesser known.
Yeah.
I would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other one was The Office, because that was when Ricky Gervais was good. And he's never quite...
He's still good. He's still got it.
he's not got that. He hasn't got The Office in his locker anymore.
No.
Like, The Office is...
Well, he's show running the US one, wasn't he? Or he was producing
very
or something.
He's picking up a check.
Yeah.
Like...
All you need to do at the end of the day.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, but he wasn't involved in that. And it
Yeah.
became its own entity. But the 2 seasons of The Office and the Christmas specials are exceptional.
Yeah,
And, like, they
and for that
changed
very reason
everything,
is
like-
that because they didn't milk it, and it was just... I remember sort of the first time I watched it, I hadn't really heard about it, and I couldn't tell whether it was a genuine thing or not, and then you kind of find out more about it.
I watched that at
It's just
college,
like-
and
it's hilarious.
Every day, me and my friends used to do the lines.
Yeah.
I think you're pathetic. But
You still do them.
You still do them, yeah.
I
A
quote
lot.
The Office all the time.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend just quote The Office all the time.
Yeah.
But it was that seminal for my generation. But also, like, it's effect and the way it changed the grammar of sitcoms.
Yeah.
If you watch sitcoms today, there's no rationale for why they're shot like that.
Yeah.
Why is Modern Family shot like a fly on the wall? Who's filming it?
Yeah.
But it's
Doesn't make
because
sense.
people got used to finding that presentation of comedy funny because that show was so funny.
Yeah.
So people copied it.
And
It makes no sense.
Just a quick note on that. What I love about that in the American Office, when Michael, who's Steve Carell, leaves, there's just a moment before he goes through airport security where they just actually do a nod to that, and like he takes off his mic pack and he hands it over to a camera guy who for the first time sticks his arm forward and takes it, and he's just like, yeah, can you let me know if this thing ever airs? And then just kind of goes, because obviously it would change the world, right? Because there'd be minor celebrities.
Well, that's the
and
thing,
it's just like it's just really nice moment.
The original deals with that in a brilliant way, because in the Christmas special, it's years after it's gone out.
Yeah.
It opens with Ricky Gervais looking into camera going, "Stitch up." That's how I describe it. Stitch up.
Yeah.
You know, they edit it down. They make me look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's doing all those terrible personal appearances alongside Bubbles from Big Brother and that guy Howard from the Halifax advert.
Yes.
Brilliant. And he's dressed up as Austin Powers, and he's like, "Shagadelic, baby."
It's grim.
Fantastic.
It was
Oh, I'm going to watch it.
you
I
go.
could quote that. And people say she's just a big pair of tits. Anyway.
And on that note,
No, but what else? Like, there's loads of great stuff.
There is a lot.
Britain does like generate a lot of brilliant comedy.
And slightly
It
different.
does.
Like we're quite good at, I think, maybe shifting the needle a little bit and just going somewhere new.
Yeah.
But I don't-
My favourite's probably 15 Stories High. I don't know if any of you
I
have
haven't
watched
heard
it.
of that.
Sean Locke, yeah. So it's Sean Locke and Benedict Wong, who's actually become a bit of a minor celebrity in big films. Like he was in Pacific Rim, and I don't know. He's a British guy who just plays the part in 15 Stories High so well. So it's about Sean Locke and Benedict Wong. They rent a flat in a tower block, and just everything that happens to them around this tower block is just kind of normal, mundane, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's taken from Sean Locke's stand-up as well, because he wrote it.
Yeah.
There's two seasons
really
of
funny.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, two seasons of it, and I think if you get a chance to watch it, definitely do. I managed to catch it on BBC Two at 3 a.m. one time, and after that I just got hooked, and then ended up buying the DVDs.
Yeah.
I think it was on Netflix, but I'm not sure if it is now.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that intermittently is on there and it comes off and
Yeah.
comes back on. Father Ted.
Yeah. Haven't seen many episodes of it.
No,
but,
I find it very funny.
I like
You know what I'm
Father Ted.
like? I don't tend to watch that much telly.
Vicar of
Yeah.
Dibley.
Yeah.
No, but no, it's not,
I enjoyed it at the time. Like I like
No,
Blackadder.
I actually said that at throat.
I just for me to disrepute. I like the first season of Blackadder quite a lot.
yeah.
But
But
everyone-
only is that controversial.
Everyone's
to say,
like,
Blackadder.
no. But the first season where everyone's like, oh, but
Oh, it
he's the
doesn't really hit
wimpy
its stride
one.
in the
and-
first season.
But
Ben
I
Nelson doesn't
quite
come
like
forward.
that because it's so different to the other ones.
Yeah.
By the end, I'm fatigued by the end of the other ones. I'm like, yes, we get it. You're sarcastic, Baldrick's stupid. It's quite nice to then have the first one and be like, the tables have turned. That's just me.
There you go. Anyway, listeners, let us know what you think is the greatest British comedy ever made. IGN _ UK feedback.
Probably
at
keeping up
IGN.com.
appearances.